Good morning. Sorry. Good morning. We have a few folks here this morning. Good to see you all, and good to anyone who might be tuning in online as well. Thank you for joining us this morning. This is kind of summer travel weather, I think, so a lot of us kind of coming in and out of town, and we're blessed to be able to be out and about doing that some more. Come on in. Yeah, just getting started, so welcome. So glad to have you here today. I think we, would somebody grab a gift bag back there? Dorothy or Barbara? We have one guest this morning, I believe. Oh, you did it already. Okay, thank you so much. Good, glad to have you with us today. And you all know, of course, if you need any mask or would feel more comfortable with that or any sanitizer, we have those things back on that back table near the entrance. So thank you for joining us today. I thought I'd just start with some funny little jokes, and these are silly ones, which are my favorites. Kids' jokes are the best, in my opinion. So these are things having to do with summer and going on summer vacations. Where do ghosts love to go on vacation? Lake Erie. That's good, isn't it? Where do cows go on summer vacation? You'll get this one. Where do cows like to go when they're on summer vacation? Movies. Yes, very good. Joe would get this one if he was listening to me. Joe, and everyone, what's the latest summer pirate movie? What's its rating? How is it rated? A movie about... that's it. I knew that would be good. Okay. Where do math teachers normally like to go on summer vacation? Times Square. That's good, isn't it? Okay. And finally, what do you call 6 weeks of rain in Scotland?
Everyday thing.
Is it?
Summer.
Summer. If you've been to Scotland or Ireland, they do get a lot of rain, so absolutely. Pretty good job on those. All right, well, Joe and I are your musicians today, so we're so grateful Michael Contras is gearing up on the video stuff so that we can have the live stream always, even if we happen not to be here. So we're grateful he's doing that today.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Yep. And we're going to begin to think about prayer. I think I pointed out to most of you, we do have a Joys and Concerns table at the back now. If there's anytime you want to light a candle for someone or something you're lifting up in prayer, feel free to do that. Little personal, sacred thing. And we, as always, we want to think about all those we are lifting up in prayer this morning. Unity, we're very inclusive in our prayers, always including ourselves, holding ourselves in the light for peace and blessings and love to enfold us and guide us forward. For our world, for our community, for our loved ones, for living beings across the globe. We are holding the high watch. So we're going to go into prayer today with a pretty little prayer song called I Will Make a Quiet Place by Michael Gott. Feel free to join us if you know it. I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. place within us, that source deep within, where we can draw from the peace of God, always, in all places, in all circumstances. We take these few moments in prayer to remember our deep connection with God in us, and all that makes possible for us. That steady flow of healing energy flowing through us in body, mind, and spirit. That steadying peace that is with us always, whenever we call upon it, regardless of the challenges we may be facing. That abiding love that is with us always, leading us forward in our lives in paths of loving kindness and peace. The guidance and direction of God in us that is always for our highest good. We affirm this truth for ourselves, for everyone in our community of prayer this morning, for our neighbors, for our friends, for our country, for living beings everywhere across the earth. We affirm this highest of all truths of our oneness with God deep within, making all things possible for us, healing and guiding and renewing and strengthening us day by day. How grateful we are for the life of God in us. So we come out of this time of prayer with grateful hearts and minds, knowing God is with us and all is well. And so it is. Amen. All right. Thank you, Joe. It's a pretty song.
It's a pretty song.
Quiet place. All right, well, we're going to move into another song. It's good for a day like this. It's such a beautiful day. This is a song of ours from years and years ago. It's called What a Glorious Day. It seemed fitting today. We have such a beautiful, beautiful sunny day. All right. chords, Joe. Thank you. All right. Okay. Joe's not used to being able to sit down. He's usually working here, so he gets to sit and relax a little bit. Well, I took as my topic today just a phrase that was just kind of in my head a lot lately. It seems like where we are coming out of the past year and a half or so, and everybody is kind of working with this question, this kind of the question in our face about what to pick back up. And that's a phrase that's been in my head lately. That's the question in our faces, in a way. What to pick back up after a period of time where we withdrew from public life in a lot of ways, where we were slowed down a good deal. And now we're in this process of reemergence, kind of slowly, haltingly, gradually, different rates of speed and so on. And there's a lot of inquiry, I think, a deep reflection going on right now, I think, about what do we want to pick up again? What do we want to add back in that may have been taken out? And what do we not want to? What would we prefer not to pick back up? We might have even learned some things during the pandemic about some things that we really don't want in our lives. They were unnecessary. They were burdensome. Or maybe we became pretty clear also on things that we really needed and didn't know how hungry we were for. I think we all had some revelations along those lines. It's not just a matter, as I think many of us thought, of just sort of getting back to normal. I used to hear that a lot, especially like the first half of that year. People talk a lot about, I just can't wait till we can get back to normal. Well, here we are. And it's just, I think we've all discovered it's not quite that simple, just kind of resuming and going right back to where we were before. We've been changed. Our communities have changed. Our priorities have changed. So it's more complex and elusive than that, than just getting back to where we were before and carrying on. At the same time, I thought to myself, it's also simpler. It's also a simpler thing because it comes down to basic questions like, what do I really need in my life? And what don't I need? What's unnecessary and burdensome? And what's critical for my soul to feel nourished? They're basic questions about what we need at soul level and what we don't, what interferes or blocks that essential self in us. So I think there's a lot of us pondering questions like that all around the country, probably all around the world. As we ponder them, we start getting some ideas about what do we want to pick back up and what don't we. Like I was, a few weeks back, I might have mentioned this before, I was impressed by this HR VP with the Ford company, huge number of employees with the Ford company, and she's in the HR department, and she was talking on the news about during the pandemic, she was able to meet her little girls at the school bus for the first time in years. And instead of somebody else having to go do that, she was able to meet her child's school bus and go home together, because she was working from home like so many others. And so she's made a very clear call in her mind and heart. She's not going back to that 8 to 5 routine day after day that kept her so busy she couldn't meet her kid's school bus ever. So she's not giving that up. She discovered a soul hunger there, something she had to have that she had been doing without a long time. I think a lot of people are making discoveries like that. In her influence as a VP at Ford, she's been instrumental in kind of working with a new system for a lot of the employees there, and something like 40,000 of their employees are now working on a hybrid schedule. Some days in the office or part days in the office, some at home. I think a lot of people and companies and organizations are accommodating that now. They used to think people didn't work if they were home. Well, it turns out, no, people work. People work when they're home, sometimes better, and a hybrid schedule makes a lot of sense for a lot of people unless they need to be in meetings and things like that. So I think that's one of the kind of concrete ways in which people are doing some deep reflecting on What do I want to pick back up? Do I want to go back to it, 8 to 5, late nights, working even on weekends, wearing a pager, or in terms of people's work lives? Or do they need to make changes in that? And I think companies are becoming more sensitive to that. So I was thinking about, there's a lot of signs of this kind of reflection going on. It sparked me thinking about it. We were driving around somewhere. We went to the garden store up here in Delaware and went by a business that had a big sign out that said closed for inventory. You ever seen those signs a business will put up? And I thought, that's another way of thinking about the pandemic. In a way, we were closed for inventory, kind of forced into closing for inventory, and it became a time where we were compelled by life and the circumstances of life to kind of do some taking stock of what our resources were, what we had to go on. Did we have all we needed? Or are there some things we're really lacking in our inventory, things that maybe we've been neglecting ourselves, some nourishment we really have needed, some companionship, some priorities that we weren't getting and really have rediscovered a need for. That's a kind of taking stock maybe we needed to do. I think we all did a lot of that over the past year or so, kind of a taking stock of our assets, our resources, what we have, what do we have to go on, and what do we need more of? Because often we don't think about it. We kind of get into an autopilot kind of mode, would you agree? We're not thinking too much day to day on what our priorities are, and are we meeting our deepest needs in the activities we're doing, the work we're doing, the relationships we have? Are we serving our highest good in all these areas of our lives, or are we just sort of autopilot going through the motions, things that have gotten set up in our lives, and it's our obligation to keep doing them? Sometimes, like a business, we need to kind of shut down, do some inventory, and I think a lot of us are doing that. Another way I like to think about it is, as an old English major, any of you ever read Henry David Thoreau? Show of hands. All right, good. Maybe back high school or college, probably those are the years. I loved Walden. I found it life-changing, Thoreau's book, Walden. And in a way, Thoreau talked about why he went to the woods. That's one of the most famous quotes from his book. He said, "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived." That's a punchy quote, isn't it? A punchy quote, to live deliberately. I think that's a very similar idea to kind of what we're talking about here, about taking stock of our resources. To live deliberately means to live with more consciousness of how we're living. I think that's what that means, of what's essential for us and what isn't. And Thoreau's whole experience at Walden was, and he has lots and lots of chapters about why he has just 2 chairs, one for himself and one for occasional company, and how many bean plants he planted, and all these little particulars of his life he was monitoring very closely and consciously, living very deliberately how he wanted to live his life. And that became, he was there for 2 years, living by himself at Walden Pond, and it became the creative wellspring for the rest of his life. That's what he tapped into for the rest of his life. So I kind of thought about that, in a way we all went to the woods last year. Not necessarily in the sense of being in nature, that would have been better for us probably, but in the sense of removed from the usual activities and occupations with more time for solitude and reflection. So I find myself wondering, could it too be a creative wellspring for us as we're emerging from that time, bringing with us a kind of fuel for our life and our work that we didn't have before, what we learned from it, what we gained from that time of living more deliberately and consciously. So what kind of discoveries come? I think there's a lot when we're taking inventory, and I think a lot of them have to do with soul nourishment we need, and questions about that. What do we really need to be happy, to feel satisfied? What are those things? And for each of us, they're a little different. There's some common ones I think we all share. but what are they for you? And when we go through what we've been through, our time in the woods, our time of taking stock, taking inventory, I think we start to get a handle on that. Sometimes it's from what we're going without. We realize what we really need, deeply need. It's soul nourishment we have. We could be solitude, could be time with our families, it's most precious. Could be time outdoors in nature. It was a lifeline for a lot of us during the pandemic, I think. Time outdoors in our gardens, in our yards, around trees, or wildlife. Quality time. Quality time in building our relationship with God. I think a lot of people discovered a kind of a spiritual hunger that they hadn't been adequately serving during the past year or so. We often discover what we most need when we go through times when we have to do without it. And then we realize how crucial that was. And we get times like this in our lives. I was remembering years ago as a young adult, early 20s, I moved to New York City. So I had a couple friends there and I wanted to live in a big city. I lived in a small town, went to college in a small town my whole life. And I thought, let's get the big city experience. I think a lot of young adults do that. And it was very exciting and delightful at first, going to off-Broadway shows and, saving up all week for those having nothing but salad or Campbell's soup so that I could afford a show on the weekend, and learning those subways and the buses and the whole experience of New York City. I lived in a brownstone in mid-Manhattan, and I discovered during that time of not having it a deeper spiritual hunger to deal with the stress of life in the city. Started going to a Unity church there quite regularly. It was my first big commitment to a church probably in my life. Eric Butterworth's Unity, Lincoln Center. You couldn't get much better than that. A midweek meditation they sponsored too became more a part of my life. That spiritual hunger declared itself during that time of being in a new place, untethered, kind of in the woods. In a way, you do some inventory. Do I have enough to go on? And I didn't. So you start to feed yourself what you need more deeply. I discovered before too long at all, after the initial excitement of big city life, that the noise of it, the crowds were wearing on me, that I had a deep need for quiet, which is hard to get in Midtown Manhattan with the trash truck sound in the morning you get in the big city. Oh, a screeching, horrible sound every morning you wake to. You don't need an alarm clock. I realized how much I needed quiet, and I needed green space, and I needed to be closer to nature. I needed an opportunity to do that every day. So I discovered from not having certain things what I most deeply needed. I discovered soul hunger that I wasn't even aware of. And so got myself back to a place where I could live closer to nature and to enjoy more quiet. I brought things with me, like that spiritual growth work that was so nurturing to me and steadying for me in the big city. We do things when we realize our soul's well-being is on the line. Have you ever had a time in your life when you took up something new, like going to a church or starting to meditate, or it could be anything like that, where you realize your soul's well-being is on the line? It could be quitting a job that you really secretly hate. It could be making a change in what you're doing in some way, and you are compelled to do it because you know you've got a soul hunger there that's got to be satisfied. Your soul's well-being is on the line. I think many of us have made discoveries along these lines over the last year, a little more than a year, and have been digging deeper in our spiritual growth work, realizing our soul's well-being is on the line. We need to nourish our souls more deeply, and that's about going to source. That's about going direct to God in some way, whatever brings you closer to God, gives you a deeper feeling of your God connection, whether that's in prayer time and meditation, or walking in nature, or sitting in the quiet of the early morning, or watching the sunset, or whatever draws you closer to God and your sense of that God connection that nurtures your soul. We need that. And these times we go through where we're taking inventory, they often will bring that to light for us very clearly. I've always liked this quote from St. Augustine. He says, "Our hearts are ever restless until they rest in God." And there's a lot to that. There's a lot of restless craving in life until we begin to satisfy our souls in the way they most need, which is feeling that God connection from within. So questions to ask ourselves, and just tossing out for you to think about in your own reflection as you take inventory and continue to reflect on what do you want to pick back up, maybe from life pre-pandemic to life now, to whatever this new normal is that's taking shape in all our lives. What do you want that normal to look like? It's not going to look exactly the same. It's going to be a little different. What things do you want to add back in? I think it's really smart to be conscious about it and think about it before we just automatically go, well, I'll get back to doing that. I've always done that. I've always done that. Maybe now's the time to rethink relationships, activities, community involvements. What's important for you to continue to pick back up and get involved in again, and what's not? What would be better to set aside for your soul's well-being? So the two big questions, if you feel like reflecting on it, what do you want to pick back up? Maybe do a list. What do you want to pick back up? What are you picking back up because that's what you want? And then the other list is, what do you want to leave behind? What would be better for the state of your soul and your consciousness and your peace and well-being for you to leave behind and not pick up again, and not resume? And finally, ask God to guide you in those discoveries, to bring you clear guidance as to what's most important in your life and what is not. Sometimes when I'm really looking for answers on something, I'll say to God, God, make your guidance so clear I can't miss it. Make it so clear I can't miss it. I'm waiting and I'm ready to receive it. And then see what comes, because God will respond to you. God will respond to the deepest needs and the deepest questions of your hearts. Just invite God in, and you'll see what you'll be guided to pick back up and what you'll be guided to leave behind, so that you can move head free, unencumbered, and peaceful. So let's take that query maybe into a closing prayer together as we close our eyes for just a moment. We hold this high question in our minds. We invite God to guide us in what is ours to do, and how we're meant to live our lives, what is most important for our soul's well-being right now and through the days ahead. We invite you, God, to guide us, to make it clear for us so we can't miss it, what we would best leave behind, what would not be good for us to resume or to pick back up, activities or relationships or undertakings that no longer serve us and are best set aside. And guide us, God, in what is ours to do, the work that's ours to do, how we're meant to show up in the world, how your love can and your grace and your creativity can flow through us in healing ways, in ways that bless us and our lives and all those around us. We are wide open to your influence. We invite you to send your guidance to us clear and strong, moment by moment, day by day. Thank you, God, for your unfailing presence with us now and always. Amen. All right. Well, in a moment, Joe and I are going to do another song for you. It's a favorite of ours. We did it a lot over the past year. I'll take a moment. Let's see. Always want to indicate how grateful we are for the tithes and gifts and offerings that have been coming in quite steadily. We're a very fortunate church at the support we receive from all of you and many people watching online or catching it later in the day and sending gifts via PayPal and so on. We're so grateful for that support. There's offering baskets on the two back tables if you brought something to share today, or if you send something in, a check, or do something by PayPal. We always like to affirm our understanding of this flow of abundance flowing through us and our church with our offertory blessing. Divine love, join me, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful. So it is. All right, I'm going to ask Joe to come back up again. And we're going to do a Janice Ian song. We've done this a lot over the past year or so. It was one of those songs that, you discover a song at the right time, kind of like a book in the library falling in your lap. This is a song we found sometime early in the pandemic, and we've been doing it ever since. It's called Better Times Will Come, Janice Ian song, and it's a really easy chorus, so if you feel like joining in at any point, do so.
It's like the book fell off the shelf in the bookstore for you and me.
That's right, that's right. All right.
times will come, better times will come, when this world learns to live as one. Oh, better times will come, when we greet each dawn without fear, knowing the loved one soon will be near. When the winds of war cannot blow anymore, oh, better times will come. Better times will come. Better times will come, when this world learns to live as one. Oh, better times will come. Though we live each day as our last, we know someday soon it will pass. We will dance, we will sing in that never-ending spring. Oh, better times will come. Better times will come. Better times will come, when this world learns to live as one. Oh, better times will come. Better times will come. Better times will come, when this world learns to live as one. Oh, better times will come. Oh, better times. Oh, better times. Oh, better times will come.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Ian, for that lovely song. Okay, so I think that's about it for that. We got some announcements, some thank yous, some announcements, and Larry Christ is going to help us with that. He's wearing two hats today. He's wearing the sound tech hat and the platform host hat. Thank you, Larry.